What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon. NFL Showdown breakdown for Monday Night Football. We've got Atlanta Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles. We've got, hopefully, what should be a shootout. We'll see. As of now, it's favoring Philly. And we're going to break it down. So if you've not seen our other videos, if you didn't see last Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football video, we are back here with Monday Night Football, so we are very excited. Again, if you're new to the channel, this is not the normal setup. This is not the normal microphone, so I hope it doesn't sound too bad. But we are going to break down, and we're going to build lineups for Monday Night Football. So we do have a little bit of concern with A.J. Brown, who popped up late Friday with, I think it's a hamstring injury. Did not practice on Friday. Limited practice due to hamstring. So, if he's out, it's okay. We've got some other options. So what we're going to do is what we did in our other videos. We are going to break this showdown down. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go over some statistics of, stacks. What position is in the captain spot the most from last year and this year. Then we're going to build some lineups through there. So just kind of looking at this game as of right now, we've got Philly with an implied team total of 26.75, whereas we have Atlanta with an implied team total of 20.25. So it could be a bloodbath. And in that instance, we're looking at the game script. So they think Philly's going to be up big. So when you're doing stacking, we'll talk about the stacking and what players make sense as a stack as well. So that being said, let's just kind of break down some of the statistics for showdowns, at least on the DraftKings, since the beginning of last year. So 84% of the winning lineups had at least one quarterback. Normally we put two quarterbacks in there. So we'll build around that way. 6% of the winning lineups used all 50,000. So only 6% used the entire salary. So that is something to put in the back of your mind. 16% of those lineups had a $200 flex player. Now, it's not going to make sense all the time, but it might make sense a little bit. So we'll dig in a little bit once we get into here if any of these make any sense whatsoever, and not necessarily needing to. So that is one of those options as well. 80% of those winning lineups had a player of 4,000 or less. So we're looking at Calcaterra down. Doesn't make a ton of sense in this game, but we'll kind of just look through, see if anything makes sense. Something might pop up if, in fact, A.J. Brown is ruled out. Hopefully be sooner than what CMC was ruled out last Monday night. The average winning lineup had a salary of $47,500 on DraftKings. And our stacks. This is one where a lot of people are wondering. The majority of the winning lineups, 44% of the time, had a 4-2 stack, meaning 4 players on one team, 2 on the other. 36% of the time, a 3-3 even split, and only 21% of the time a 5-1. So it really just depends on what we're looking at. Then we build down. What position makes sense the most for the captain spot? Wide receiver 39% of the time. Makes a lot of sense. They're the pass catchers. Running back 28% of the time. Again, like a James Cook on Thursday night who had 3 touchdowns. That makes a lot of sense. So sometimes that'll happen. You'll just kind of have to look at the defenses and what they gave up. Quarterback was 17% of the time. So, a quarterback that throws for 5 touchdowns obviously is going to be in the nuts lineup, probably the captain spot there. 7% was the tight end, which week 1 tight end university was closed. It was a terrible week 1 for tight ends. Thursday Night Football wasn't any better. Defenses, 7% of the time. So, again, you always have like that Cowboys defense who has 2 pick sixes, or a defense that has, 3 interceptions, 2 pick sixes. Those happen a little bit. And then kickers are 2% of the time. Monday Night Football, Jake Moody, 6 for 6 in field goals, career highs, everything. That's the outlier. The outlier there is a kicker 2% of the time in a game like we saw last Monday night. And speaking of outliers, Outlier.Bet is our sponsor for all of these videos. You can check them out. You can break the game down. You can look at all the games. You can look at the injuries, the insights, how the teams matched up in 2023. Obviously, Atlanta has a different quarterback this year. Philly's the same. The only thing Philly's kind of missing that we're used to is Kelsey at the center position. You've got the record versus common opponent. You can break that down. You can do the team rankings. Obviously, this will update throughout the season. Let's get, about 3 to 4 weeks out of the year or for this season done, and then these stats will make a little bit more sense for the current rosters. You got player props, team props, game props. So if you think a certain player is going to score a touchdown, so first touchdown scorer, Barkley, plus 440 on FanDuel. And what I love, you add it to your bet slip. You go down to your bet slip here. You take it out to whichever website you're on, depending. Like, let's go FanDuel, for instance, and you can add it to your bet slip. It takes you right out to FanDuel, add it to your bet slip, take some of those bets there. So if you want to see some bets that we like, some touchdown scores that we enjoy, core plays, the cheat sheet, everything, click the link down below for the Discord. We talk about that. And the website is FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. It's $10 for a week. You get every sport we offer. It's $30 a month. It's $200 for a year, but the next 8 people that email us, dfshelp1@gmail.com, that's dfshelp1@gmail.com, we have a special going. $50 will get you a full year of all access, every sport we offer. NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, MMA, NASCAR. If we get into other ones, they will be there as well. So, interested? Email us. But let's jump into it. Let's build some lineups here. So that being said, we're kind of looking at what do we think is going to happen. Obviously, building some lineups makes a lot of sense. Saquon, last week, 3 touchdowns, 36.2 fantasy points, 109 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, then a receiving touchdown as well. Now, he's not going to have these games every week. People are going to be chasing this. But again, when we talk about the running back, 28% of the time they were the nuts lineup. The winning lineup here for your showdown. So that makes a lot of sense. Bijan, we look at him. 68 yards last week, 5 of 5 receptions, 43 yards, 16.1, had no touchdown. Let a lot of people down in week 1. Everyone said he's going to have a bounce back year with a different quarterback, with a different offensive scheme. First week did not look well, so we'll kind of look at that. A.J. Brown scares me a little bit. He had 119 yards. He had 10 targets last week. 10 targets, caught 5 of them for 119 yards and a touchdown, 25.9. He is now limited with a hammy. Will kind of make sense. So if that jumps out, I think, and Devonta Smith makes a little bit more sense if Brown, maybe he's out there as a decoy this week. I don't know. We will definitely see. But let's build some lineups looking at a wide receiver being the captain spot. So let's just, for instance, say A.J. Brown plays, it's just a decoy, everything's good to go, and he's the number 1. Let's see what makes sense. We are going to look, and we're going to build these first couple of lineups with a 4-2 stack, looking at the game script of Philly being the high-scoring team and making a lot of sense. So we've got A.J. Brown in this one, and let's say he's healthy and he's good to go. So he's number 1. We obviously are bringing it down with Jalen Hurts to throw to him. That makes a lot of sense. Maybe Brown is out there, he gets a touchdown or 2, but he's more of a decoy, and they throw it to Devonta. Now, we've got 3 Philly right there. Now, this is one I kind of want to, it's a little bit off there, but the kicker as well. Game log, 2 for 2, field goals attempted and made, 4 extra points, 10 fantasy points there, cheaper option. Again, 4,800. It allows you 5,500 for flex spots. So those are the 4 Philly that we're looking at. Now, if you want to get crazy, and this is obviously we are building lineups, and again, we talked about $200 player, but Hodge, don't know if he'll play. 3rd season on the team, didn't do anything in week 1, was active, $200. He could be a sneaky player. Just depends on if Kirk Cousins gets with him. And that's what we're looking at. But you put him in there, and now your flex can be literally anyone. So we think it's Robinson. We think it's Kirk Cousins. We look at Kirk Cousins, week 1, 16 for 26, 61.5% completion, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Now, there is a thing called the Kirk Cousins primetime Kirk, and he doesn't do well in primetime games. This is a primetime game. If it rears its ugly head, he could be thrown out. Maybe they're down big and Penix comes in for whatever reason. That's 6,000. You could definitely see that. So let's go away from Hodge. You got 5,500. What we're looking at. Maybe we look at, depends, Ray McLeod III, 9.2, 4 for 7, 52 yards. He is in there. It allows us 8,100 on the back end. So if you think only one quarterback makes sense, it can make sense at 8,100. We could go Drake London as another one. Last week, 2 for 3 for 15 yards. For whatever reason, 2 receptions, 3 targets, not a lot. 7,800 makes some sense, okay? So let's say we take McLeod out. We put Cousins in. Now we're at 2,100 that we could look at. We're looking at Shipley, Will Shipley. Last week, nothing. Absolutely nothing for the Eagles, okay? You got Warner, Charlie Warner. 1 for 2 for 4 yards. He could be a sneaky option had they, obviously Kyle Pitts makes a lot of sense. Warner's obviously the tight end too, so you could throw him in there with Kirk Cousins. Ownership should be low. It'll really just depend on if he comes through or not. Don't mind Charlie Warner. Again, we're trying to make some lineups that make sense, but also are kind of up and down. We're still saved 900. I'm going to throw that in there. Again, I make multiple lineups. We're building through these multiple lineups here. So let's say we don't think A.J. Brown's going to do very well, and we think Devonta should be the wide receiver 1 in this game because, Brown might be out there as a decoy, or he's still out there doing what he needs to do. So I've got Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown. So that's 3 Philly. The 4th one I'm going to look at, you come all the way down here to Dallas Goedert. Now, if we look at Dallas Goedert last week, game log 4 for 5, 31 yards. Longest was 21. There is a prop. If we look at the props for this, it's like the top one, right? I think. If it'll load. My internet is real slow today. It's like he's hit 100% of the time a reception over 15.5 yards, which you can take those odds depending on the book that it's on. You can take those odds. He had 21 last week. That makes a lot of sense. 7.1 at 5,800. We draft him here. So those are our 4 Phillies. So we think Philly's going to be up big. These are the ones that I really like outside of if you think Barkley is going to do what Barkley did last time. I definitely could see that. So let's say Robinson makes sense, and then you got a $400 player we've already talked about. Whether or not we're looking at Jenkins, Carterell, Hodge, you look at that. That could be another stack for you. So, looking at that, that's kind of where we're at a little bit. But these players that we're looking for, ones that make sense to use, are there. But on the flip side, let's say, for instance, we are looking at B.J. Robinson as the captain. And, obviously, if Philly's up as big as they think they're going to be up, they're going to have to do a lot of things. They're going to have to be throwing the ball, running the ball, coming back in this game. I think that makes a lot of sense. We got A.J. Brown, B.J. Robinson at the top. We got A.J. Brown. Let's go, depending on what we've got. Drake London. Everyone's going to be off of him after 3.5 fantasy points last game. Let's take exposure to someone that people will be off of there. So we got 2 Atlanta, 1 Philly. We're looking, let's say, think it's going to be a kicking game again. Going to take Jake Elliott here. We're averaging 5,800 through there. We got to get our quarterback in there, Jalen Hurts. Now we're at 1,600. One that we haven't talked about, but is down here. We've got Johnny Wilson. Didn't do anything. 0 catches on 1 target. Selected in the 6th round. He's a rookie. A lot of things could happen here where A.J. Brown is out. Wilson could be that wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 2 if Brown is out there as a decoy. So this is just another one where we have a running back on the opposing team as the captain in this one. So then let's go a different stack. Let's go with a 3-3. So we talked about, we looked earlier. When we looked earlier, we saw that breaking down, 3-3 is 36% of the time was the winning in the winning lineup, and 4-2 is 44. So I mean, there's a little bit of difference, but it's pretty close between a 4-2 and a 3-3 stack. So we still think, and the quarterback has been in the captain spot 17% of the time. If any quarterback could be the one in the nuts outside of Josh Allen, I think it's Jalen Hurts. So we've got Jalen Hurts as the captain spot here. Thrown to A.J. Brown if he's healthy. Again, we've got to wait to kind of hear this. I want to get a little bit of Bijan in here. I do want to get Drake London. So now we're at 3,300 the rest of the way. What are we going to do here? Dallas Goedert. I like Dallas Goedert here, 5,800. We're at 800 is what we're looking at. So we can come down here. We can look at all of these. Maybe we look differently. Maybe, we take Goddard out. Let's do Jake Elliott. Let's do a kicker in this situation. And now we're at 1,800. So now we're up to Covey, Warner. We're at different ways. You got Johnny Wilson that I think, if A.J. Brown isn't doing his thing, I think we could get, or that's a 4-2, isn't it? Yeah, let's do, sorry. That is another one you could do, but we talked about we are going to do a 4-2, weren't we? Or a 3-3, sorry. We're going to do a 3-3 build, and we're kind of going to see if it makes sense. Who makes sense in these spots? So I still think, still going to go with Jalen Hurts as, Jalen Hurts as the captain. Start off good. Look at A.J. Brown. And if it's primetime Kirk, Eagles defense. Didn't do much last week against in Brazil, obviously. But yeah, 3-3. So those are your 3 Eagles that we're looking at. Now, I'm looking at Bijan, number 1. I'm looking at Kyle Pitts, who had last week 3 for 3 for 26 yards and a tutty. Think he has a bounce back year this year. Now we're at 3,200. We've already talked about it, but Ray McLeod, the third, could be a sneaky option there. We add that there as well. So just another way, a 3-3 lineup that you can kind of look at. Now, what we want to look at is we have not built with him, but let's look at Saquon. Okay? We're going to put Saquon in here, and we kind of want to see what a Saquon captain looks like, don't we? So if we look at what a Saquon lineup looks like with him as the captain spot, it's going to be, with the pricing at $15,900, you're going to have to find those value picks with him that make sense, okay? Now, I don't know if it's even possible to do a 3-3 stack with him in there as the captain spot. That's what might be off a little bit when we build through here. So, for instance, we put Barkley in there. We think he's going to have a good game. I don't think I'm not saying he's not going to replicate, or he's going to replicate last week, but he's good. We know how good he is. So we got Jalen Hurts in there. One we haven't done yet is let's throw in Kirk Cousins. And now we average 5,000, okay? Kirk Cousins throws to Drake London. Now we're at 3,600. We got to find these 2 flex plays that make sense, okay? Let's say Kyle Pitts is out and we've got Charlie Warner coming in. It should be under-owned at 1,200. Now we're at 6,100. We can go Will Greer. We're not going to go from down here. So we're looking at Goddard. So Hurts to Barkley to Goddard, Cousins to London to Warner. These make sense. It's a different way to build around, especially if Philly goes up a little bit and then they start just running. They start running Barkley a little bit. If it gets way out of hand, Barkley's going to go out. Barkley will go out. A.J. Brown will go out. That's the only problem we're looking at. But let's do one more 4-2 build. Jalen Hurts as the captain. Bijan is in there. Jalen's got to throw to Goddard. I love Goddard this week. I kind of like the Eagles defense to go up against primetime Kirk, which we love. Let's get Barkley in there, and now we're at 3,800. So we're looking at Algier, who, don't trust him enough. He's kind of out on the outs for me. Ray McLeod makes sense. Kenneth Gainwell could make a lot of sense. Depends. He is getting some targets. Could vulture a touchdown if they get up big and Barkley is out. Let's say Barkley does his thing. He is out. He's gone. Gainwell could come in at 2,800. Makes a lot of sense. But we were looking at, a 4-2 stack. You could do a 5-1 stack, like a Kenneth Gainwell here. Again, 5-1 stacks 21% of the time. So they do happen. So this could be a 5-1 stack that you're looking at. Hurts as the captain. Then he's throwing it to Goddard, Barkley, Gainwell, and the Eagles defense are taking care of primetime Kirk. There are just so many different ways to build around. That's what we're here for. We're trying to help you become better DFS players. So if you liked this video, You liked the thought process behind how to build some lineups. You want to see even more. You want to bounce some ideas off of each other. Go check out the Discord, which is down below. Also, make sure you go check out FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. Clicking on the ads in the articles, clicking on the ads here on YouTube helps us out way more than you know. We have all of the rankings there. We have it broken down. We are ready to make you better DFS players starting today. So that's what I've got in this build. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you check out all the other information. I will link, depending on when you watch this video, I will link all of our other information. Everything's down below for all of the rankings. Everything you need should be in the description of this video. If you need a little bit more, go check out the Discord. Always email us or hit us up on Twitter at @advisors_team. Would love to know what kind of builds you guys are doing, some of the bets you guys are doing for Monday Night Football. Let us know. Good luck today, and as always, let's bring home some bacon. Peace.